Greek mythology has many stories. Stories of Poseidon ruling the ocean, or Zeus shooting out lightning bolts. But one of the most prevalent stories in Greek mythology is the story of Icarus. The story of Icarus, a boy who flew too close to the sun and plunged into the ocean because he had wings made of wax. But to understand the story of Icarus, you have to understand the basis of it and how it is prevalent in your life today. How this story still stores a message that's prevalent in your life that can help you not fall the same fate to the story of Icarus. See, because the story of Icarus starts with his dad, Daedalus, who was a master inventor. He was a master inventor. He created the first dance floor. He created the first outhouse. Okay, so a lot of y'all don't know where outhouse is because you're too young, you never experienced outhouse. Well, actually, grandparents. But outhouse was basically a bathroom. It was a bathroom that was outside in your backyard. So when you had to use the bathroom, you had to go outside in your backyard to what was called outhouse and use the toilet. But I digress, people. I digress. The point is, this master inventor, right? He was in Athens, Greece, and he was creating all kinds of amazing things. And eventually he fell out because he killed his nephew, who he was afraid of, was threatened. He was threatened by it. He was threatened by it because he thought his nephew would be more of a better inventor than him. So after killing his nephew, he was kicked out Athens, Greece. He then found favor with, and I'm going to butcher this king's name, King Matrix. And we're going to just say that just because I can't pronounce the guy's name. He found favor with him. But soon after, he even fell out of favor with him after serving on his council and creating amazing things like mechanical toys that were realistic for his children. After creating something that he should have created for the king's wife. King's wife had fell in love with a bull after Poseidon, as I started the story talking about it, who was the god of the ocean, cast a curse on Matrix's wife. She fell in love with a bull, the king's bull. So she talked Daedalus into making a mechanical bull to help the actual bull fall in love with her. As she hid in that bull, the real bull had intercourse or coitus with her, and it created the Minotaur. Long story short, people, because we're trying to get to the point of the story of Icarus, and this all has to do with that. The point is, after falling in love with him, King Matrix got pissed off, fell out of favor with Daedalus, and made him create a maze. As I said, he was a master inventor. Created a maze where the Minotaur could not leave, but also Daedalus and his only son Icarus had to live out their days in this maze, this inescapable maze. As Daedalus was sitting there in the maze, this master inventor looked up at the sky. And what did he see? He seen birds flying. He came up with a master idea to create wings to escape this maze, this prison that he was in. So he created wings made of wax for him and his son to escape this prison. Now here's where the story gets interesting and start to show the prevalence of your life. As they escaped, before they escaped the maze, Daedalus made sure his son Icarus knew, don't fly too high towards the sun because the heat from the sun will melt these wings made of wax. Don't fly too low to the ocean because if the ocean will make these wings too heavy to fly. As Icarus took off flying, he was a little shaky, he was a little nervous. And you know how that feels when you started your own business and when you started your own company, you did something for the first time. We all were nervous, right? You get those bumbles in your stomach and you get nervous and you're fearful that you can't do it well, or you're a little shaky when you first start off. Similar to that, Icarus was a little nervous at first. He was a little nervous as flying. But like you, Icarus started getting more confident as he's done more. Because as you do more of what you do and what you're currently great at, Icarus started feeling more confident at flying. He started getting so confident, they start flying higher and higher, ignoring the instructions from his father, ignoring the warnings from his father that if you fly too high, sun's going to melt your wings. It's going to melt the wax on the wings. Icarus became so confident that I can argue that his ego became to make him see and think that he was a god. To the people on land that was looking up at Icarus, they seen what looked like a god, a man flying through the sky. But Icarus made one mistake that we all make. Icarus did the opposite of what his dad told him to do and flew just a little too close to the sun. And you know the rest, or you can imagine what happens next. The wings melted. The wax of the wings melted, and Icarus' father, Daedalus, had to watch as his son plunged the ocean to his death. Now, as I tell you the story of Icarus, there's many theories on what this story meant. Some say the story in the mythological story, Greek story, was meant to tell people, don't get too high to think you're a god. Because if you try to fly too high and think you're God, you're eventually going to plunge to the ground, into your death. Other stories say it was a story between a father and a son. I mean, think about it, people. I looked at it and I said, okay, yeah, it can make sense. Father and son story. Father tells the child, what to not do, try to give him the warnings of life, and the child ignored it and make the mistakes and lead to what every parent, fear is, lead to a troubling lifestyle or something that leads to death. But I looked at this story and I seen something different, people. I seen something different in the story of Icarus. What I seen in the story of Icarus was the wings represent your brain. The sun represents your ego, your pride. The ocean represents your self-esteem. Now let me explain a little different. Let me explain a little deeper into this, people, or what I mean by it. See, you gotta think about something for a second, people. Your brain is a fragile place. Your mind is a very fragile place, a delicate place that is easily broken or easily risen up to the ranks of making yourself so egotistical, so prideful that you think that you're flying above everybody else. And if you don't think this for a second, believe. And just imagine for a second, people even yourself, if you can recognize your own issues of reaching a level of proficiency into a job or an opportunity, or you get a title or responsibility, like you get manager, supervisor, and you start thinking that you're on top of the world. You're king of, no, you're a god. You become a CEO of your own corporation. You become a political figure, and you start thinking you're huge. Your mind starts to grow because sometimes we can't control the most fragile part of our body, the strongest but most fragile part of our body, our mind. Ego gets so big that everybody else is on the ground and you're looking down on them. You're flying high like Icarus. But you also have another side to it, people. Your mind also can get very low. Often we tell people when you're online doing what I'm doing right now, such as putting a podcast, don't read the comments. Do not read the comments. Why do we tell people not to read the comments? Because what you're going to experience is low self-esteem of people with even lower self-esteem sitting there beating down on you, bringing down their criticism on you, telling you how bad you really are, how terrible you are, how horrible you look, beating you down so your self-esteem is as low as the ocean that Icarus' father told him to not fly into. That's the partial of where we live in the theory and where I say Icarus. See, Icarus, like I said, he started off shaky, a little nervous, like we all do when we start business. When you ever start something, you start a new job, you start off shaky. You start a little nervous, you're trying to get your bearings, trying to get your feet, trying to learn the surroundings, where's the lunchroom, what coworkers you need to watch out for because they be the ones snitching, you try to figure out what type of manager you're dealing with, how to do the job, even if you was doing it for 20, 30 years, you're trying to figure out, get your bearings at that job. And you start off nervous, but as you get into it, you get into a routine, you figure out your coworkers, you figure out the situation, the lay of the floor, how to the flow of the job, you start to get more and more and more confident. Now, as you start getting confident, you start to notice that your confidence starts rising even higher as now your position and your title starts to rise higher. Whether you're, the pastor now of the church or your CEO of the company, or you're a manager, or supervisor, or even a team lead. And your ego starts to get higher and higher and higher. As you get higher, but you don't realize, soar like Icarus, as you're flying too high, but you get too close to the sun. You're getting too close to the sun. And what I mean by the sun is, people, and a lot of times it's not necessarily meaning that sometimes we just get too egotistical and think we're better than everybody. Sometimes the sun can just represent something deeper of everybody around you being jealous of your success. Because understand something, everybody surrounding you are not cheering for you. Some people surrounding you are not cheering for you. They're just sitting here paying for your downfall. Some people you think, well, they was helping me rise and they was encouraging me to rise. Well, Jay-Z got lyrics from a song, people, and this goes all back to the story of Icarus. He said, they built me up to destroy me, to build me up again. They say, "Hold, we need you back so we can kill you again." I'm gonna say that one more time. They built me up to destroy me, to build me up again. They say, "Hold, we need you back so I can kill you again." Some people build you up so they can destroy you. Then they build you back up again so they can kill you again. And a lot of times this will happen. We let our ego go up and we let people build us up, build us up, build us up until we start flying towards the sun. Then when the sun burns our wings made of wax, our mind is made of wax because it's such a gentle place that we end up plunging back to the ocean and it becomes our downfall. Our ego, our pride becomes our downfall. Our ego and pride just represents more than us getting a big head. Us starting to think that people around us who we think are rooting for us truly care and wants to see our success when nothing is better. The rise is not better than the fall. The fall is better than anything. Watching Icarus fly from drop from the sky is better than watching him fly through the sky. That's more entertaining to the people on the ground. To the people around you, it's like you're Icarus. You're Icarus, people. You're the person flying to the sun. And nothing's more entertaining than watching you fall back to the ground. You think that people watching you rise is entertaining? Seeing you rise? No. Watching you fall to the ground like Icarus, fall to the ocean is more entertaining than watching you rise. But we often be careful or egotistic in watching ourselves as we fly too close to the sun. But we also have to be careful, people. We also have to be careful because just like we have people that cheer us up, to build us up, to destroy us, to build us up, to kill us again, we also have to be careful, people, of the people who wants to fly too low to the ocean. Because see, that's the thing, people. As we tell the story of Icarus and how his dad told him, do not fly too high, that you may fly too close to the sun, and the wings made of wax may burn and melt and make you plunge into the ocean. We often have people tell us, no, don't fly too close to the sun. Fly a little closer to the water. But as you go back to the story of Icarus' father, he told his son, do not fly too close to the water because, see, if your wings get wet, that they'll become too heavy. And you will fall into the ocean and drown. But so many people, right? They try to keep you low to the ground. Try to keep you low to the water. They try to keep you on basis. Unlike Icarus' father who told him to stay in a medium place, fly the course. Don't get too egotistical. Don't let yourself get too low. Some people try to get us to fly too low to the ocean. Tell us, don't get too big for your britches. You ever heard that? Don't get too big for your britches. Crawl before you walk. Don't run. Get a little low. Fly low. Keep your self-esteem low. Keep your confidence low. Don't get above yourself. Don't think too much of yourself. If I catch you doing that, I'm going to remind you of to fly close to the ocean. And a lot of times they tell you fly close to the ocean, people, is because they understand. They understand that flying too close to the ocean, that eventually that your wings might clip that water. That your mind might clip that water, people. And when you clip that water, it's going to be too heavy for you to fly. You will never rise again. Because when you fly too close to that water in the water clips those wings, those wax wings that make them too heavy to fly, you're going to eventually fall into the ocean and drown. You're going to fall into the ocean and drown. And if you're lucky, you'll flap around. Or if you're not lucky, you'll flap around that ocean for a while, struggle. You'll struggle and you'll just eventually drown. You'll drown in a death that took a long time to die. And what I mean by that is you'll deal with a lot of depression, stress, anxiety in the midst of you sitting there lying in the ocean drowning because you flew too low to water. And a lot of people want you to fly so low to water. So when you're talking about building a mass church or a huge restaurant or a huge business, when you talk about aspiring for being a CEO or manager, some people are trying to tell you like, yo, you better fly low to the water. Remember the story of Icarus? He flew too high to the sun, fly close to the water. But ignoring the fact and instructions that Icarus' father told him, do not fly too close to the water, because if the water touches your wings, they'll be too heavy. And you will never be able to lift back up. You will go into the ocean and drown. Similar to people who want to see you rise up to the sun and melt your wings or fall into the ocean and drown. Some people don't even want to see you rise, people. Some people don't want to see you rise. They don't want to see you take that trip up towards the sun. They don't want to see you get that confidence. They don't want to see you glide through the air with ease, looking like a god, flying above everyone else, looking down. They don't want to see you rise above the negativity. the hate, the anger, all the excuses that surround you. They don't want to see you rise above them. They want to see you lay low, lay right into the ocean, just squirt right over the ocean and just get a little too close. So eventually, you thread that needle until your wings touch that water and you fly and drop into it. See, the story of Icarus, we can talk about it as talking about being, closer to God. We can talk about ignoring your father's instructions, but you want to be honest with you. In my opinion, what I heard from that story is, it's a story of ego. It's a story of ego and learning how to control it. Think about it, people. How did the story start off? Icarus' father was a master inventor, right? What did he do? He killed his nephew because he was afraid that his nephew will become more famous than him. Think about it, people. Icarus' father then fell out and was banned from Athens. Then he went to the king, and again, I'm going to butcher this king's name, King Macarus, Mattress, whatever the name is. He went with him, and then he became his councilman. He became his right-hand man, became his great inventor, making toys for his kid, mechanical like toys for his kids. But fell out of his grace when he went and created a mechanical ball for the man's wife so that she could sleep with a real bull and then father the Minotaur. If you don't know what a Minotaur is, it's half man, half bull. So it's like the body is like a man, then you got a head of a bull. It's a Minotaur. It's all in Greek mythology. If you're not into Greek mythology, and I'm not really into it, but for the purpose of this show and what I'm trying to express to you, I'm sharing with you Greek mythology. And if you know that, that's what Minotaur is. The point is, he eventually was put and forced to be put in a maze with him and his father. It'll break it down to you. Ego, people. Ego put him into this maze, into this prison. But think about it. Why did Icarus' father create these wings to fly out of this maze? Now, yes, partial was ego, but we're going to use this. Now, watch this, people. We're going to use this real quick. The maze. Think about it. What was the purpose of this maze, this great creation that his father created? What was the purpose of this maze? Yes, it was a purpose to keep the Minotaur in so that the world would never see this disgrace of a child. This Minotaur. Keep him in this maze so he could never escape. But also to keep dangerous, Icarus' father and Icarus, dangerous only son in this maze, in this prison. See, you got to understand, people. Because as I'm telling the story to you, listen to me. Hear what I'm saying to you, people. Far and wide, hear what I'm saying. You have people who are trying to create a maze, a prison for you. And in the midst of us escaping this maze, because we're all trying to escape something. We're trying to escape the daily routine, the mundane routine of our lives. We're trying to escape the prison of having a job. And it's not about money and all that. It's about the idea of what that job represents. It represents a prison because it doesn't allow you necessary freedom to be able to travel or to spend time, as much time as with your family. You got to use PTO. Sometimes to take time off, you got to use PTO. Sometimes it's imprisoning you so that it imprisons your mind and causes you anxiety, depression. Sometimes you're trying to escape the prison of a relationship, whether it's a relationship with your mother, your father, cousin, aunts, uncles, grandparents, husband, wife, brother, or sister, whatever the situation is, you're trying to escape some type of prison. And in the midst of escaping from prisons, a lot of us talk about flying away from that prison, flying and using financial wealth to create a way, create the wings like Icarus' father Daedalus did for him and Icarus to fly out of that prison. And when we fly out of that prison, when we escape that prison and we create this opportunity to escape this job that we was in, this relationship that we was in, when we escape this prison and this maze that we were living in, this mundane circumstances and routine that we're living in, we then fly above the people who are on the ground still watching us and looking at us as we become the God because you escaped the prison. You're the person who escaped this routine and became the business owner, the person who was chasing their dream, chasing their opportunity, creating a well life, to do life. You are now flying with what you pertain as the gods because a lot of times we look at the rich and celebrities as mythological gods, right? And you start to look at them. And you become Icarus. And this is what I said. This is how Icarus is prevalent in your life. You escape the maze. You become this God now. This God-like figure. But as I said, you have people who look at you. And they rooting for you to escape the maze. They're rooting for you to become this godlike figure. They saying to you, or matter of fact, you're saying, they built me up to destroy you. They built me up to destroy me, to build me up again. They said, come on back so we can kill you again. I'm going to say it one more time, and I don't think y'all heard me. They built me up to destroy you, to build me up again. They said, come on back so we can kill you again. And that's what's happening. But as you escape that maze, you have to be wondrous. You have to be mindful. As your confidence, as your ego, as your pride. Because ego and pride is a dangerous thing. Ego and pride kill more men than Lifetime did. Okay, people? Ego and pride kill more men than Lifetime. If you watch the show, you know what I mean by it. I always talk about Lifetime, and my wife and women watch Lifetime. And if you watch Lifetime, or my fellas out there, if you ever watch Lifetime with your women, Lifetime always kill the men. The man's always a bad guy in Lifetime. He always get killed at the end. That's a crazy person. I digress, people. I digress. I'm not going to get into Lifetime. I got to chill with that. The point is that a lot of times that pride and ego kills us more, men and women, more than anything else. Because we let our pride and ego get our head so big that we stop listening to the voice of reason. We stop listening to the warnings. I mean the warnings of people who care about us and love us. You can say Icarus' father was egotistical. He killed his own nephew. I mean, get no more egotistical than that. You killed your own nephew because you were fearful that he would become a greater and better than you. But you can also argue that he cared about his son, because he didn't just create wings for him to escape the maze. He created wings for his son, Icarus, to escape the maze as well. So he cared about his son enough to tell him, like, yo, don't fly too close to the sun. The wings will melt. The wax wings will melt. Don't fly too close to the ocean, because if you touch the ocean, the wings will be too heavy and you will die, you will drown. He cared about it. And you do have people that cares about you and care about you escaping the maze, but do not become too egotistical, too prideful, that you stop listening to the people who truly care about you, who are not trying to warn you to not fly too close to the sun, because they're worried about you becoming bigger than them and more famous than them. And it's about, you just mad because you think that I'm rising above you, I'm better than you, and you're just jealous. That's why you tell me not to fly too close to the sun. The sun ain't gonna burn my wings. Don't become that mindset. Don't let that become part of your ego. Don't let that become part of your pride, where you stop listening to people who truly was there for you, the people that truly care for you. Don't let it become an issue where you're like, I'm gonna fly too close to the sun because I know that you're jealous of me. I'm not listening to your advice. Remember, that's what kills you, is when you become too high. You become Icarus, start getting too confident, that you stop listening to what advice was given to you before you took off with those wings, before you gained them confidence. Don't fall victim to ego and pride and fly too close and let the sun melt your wings. But also be mindful of those people who are trying to love you, who truly care about you, and you have to understand. And when you have those type of people, if you can tap into their spirit and truly open your ears to listen, you will hear when those people are telling you, don't fly too low, that you allow the ocean to touch those wings. Because if the wings grab hold of those, if the water touches those wings, they'll be too heavy to fly. And what they're saying to you, people, let me break it down to you real quick, because I'm running out of time. You looking like, you don't understand what I'm going through because I'm in the room screaming and no one hears me, and you don't get what I'm saying, and you find yourself in this pity party that you're not hearing what they're saying. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how I'm feeling. I got anxiety, depression, stress, all these bills above up. You don't hear me. And what they're basically, they do hear you. What they're trying to tell you is, don't allow these things, this ocean of problems that you have, don't fly too close to the ocean of problems. Keep yourself above them. Keep yourself above them, because if you fly too close to an ocean of problems, those ocean of problems are going to grab hold of your wings, they're going to weigh them down, and you will never be able to fly again. You will drown in those ocean of problems that you have surrounding you, that sits below you. They're not trying to tell you they don't hear you. They know you're going through anxiety. They know that you're going through struggles with your bills, your family, your brother, your sister, your kids. They know you're going through struggles with your job. They're not trying to tell you they don't hear you. They do hear you, but they're trying to keep you flying above it. Because if they can keep you flying above it, then eventually you're going to get more confidence. You're going to rise higher and higher, and you'll be able to fly off into the sunset. Not towards the sun, but into the sunset, and find your level of freedom. Never falling victim to the ocean of problems that you're experiencing in your life, people. The story of Icarus is very prevalent into your life. Because as you look at the story of Icarus, of him flying too high and close to the sun, letting ego and pride and confidence will get him up there, ignoring what was told to him that he shouldn't. If he listened, he would have made it to freedom and not died with a plunge to the ocean. If you listen to what I'm saying to you, if you listen to what your family is saying to you, you're going to unlock the key to life. You're going to figure out that what the loved ones are telling you is, they're not telling you don't fly too close to the sun because they're worried that you're going to outshine them. They're telling you don't fly too close to the sun because they don't want your wings to melt. They tell you not to fly too close to the ocean, not because they don't hear all your problems and all the experience you're going through. They're telling you don't fly too close to the ocean because they don't want you to get weighed down by the problems that the ocean represents. The ocean of problems in your life. You got to open your ears, lose the ego and your pride. Because this story of Icarus is the story of ego and pride. From his father Daedalus, from the kings to the maids to Icarus, the story as a whole, the story of Icarus is a story about pride and ego. If you don't learn from the story of Icarus, if you don't learn from the story that I'm telling you today, then well, you'll become the next victim. You'll become the next victim. And like Icarus, either you'll fly up to the sun and your wings will melt and you'll drop down to the sky, or you'll clip the ocean and your wings will be too heavy for you to fly back up and you'll drown in a problem of sorrow, hate, anger, anxiety, depression, stress. It's your choice of how you want to live and how you want to die. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of the Past and Present Podcast. Remember to like, comment, subscribe to my channel. And until next time I see you or talk to you people, stay woke, stay focused. Most importantly, stay tuned. Peace.